Place we can start the preamble or whatever the hell that's called. So if you're new to the class, if you're new to this is Silicon Dojo, authorityless, gatekeeperless, free to the end user, hands-on technology education that empowers students, i.e. you, to do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. I am here to teach you code and technology. I am not here to moralize about what you should do with it. Basically, again, the simple concept is, what if high quality technology education was simply as accessible as water? How would that make the world a worse place? I don't know. That's my question. It is free to the end user. Free to the end user isn't actually free. You know, my amazing little studio here costs some money. Other things cost money too. Food costs money. We currently have a donor box account at donorbox.org/ETCG. If you want to throw some money in there, basically my thought with this is maybe we can be crowdfunded. You know, Jordan Peterson was making $90,000 a month off of Patreon for telling young men to make their beds. You know, maybe I can make a few $1,000s a month for actually teaching you how to get a job. I don't know. We can have dreams. Anyways, I'm not pushing this really hard right now just because out of frame, my life is a bit of a disaster. Going into the fall, we're going to start having a lot more classes. We're going to start having repeat classes. This is going to be much more of a job for me. So in the fall, I will worry more about DonorBox, but if you got some money, throw it in. If you have a question, raise your hand. So you go down to the little react thing and you raise your hand, and then I always get lost. Where's my hand? My hand is there, right? You see that? That's the only way I can figure out if you have a question or not. I literally do get people raising their hands, which is adorable. I'm not gonna see it. Just not gonna see it. So raise your hand and zoom. Let's see here. Copyright. So part of what I'm doing, part of my product here is this, what you're getting. The larger concept of the product is this overall system of how to teach. Again, with Silicon Dojo, the education style is much like Taekwondo or Kempo or Aikido or any of these types of things. It's not simply teaching you how to do something, but it's also creating a system that can be replicated by others. More or less everything that I do here, you can copy and use on your own and make money from if you want to. The only line there is if there is something that is actually very specifically intellectual property. My smiley computer face, that's mine. I have a copyright on that. You know, that kind of thing. Please don't screw with. But all the other documentation and everything else you can freely use. Tippy tap or die. So a lot of people that want to get into technology think that they can sit there for however long, and they will simply learn technology through osmosis and get a very, very fancy, valuable job. That's not how it works as a technology professional. You actually got to do the work. It would be kind of like, you know, saying you want to be a carpenter by simply watching other people be carpenters. And then at the end of it, you want to get paid $100,000 a year to build a house. Not how it works. So we have the labs at the end of this, everything. We have projects that you can do. You need to do these projects. Getting down the muscle memory of opening and closing, single quotation marks versus double quotation marks, all of that kind of stuff is incredibly valuable. So do that if you want to be a professional. Extra help, w3schools.com is absolutely fabulous if you've not been there. And ChatGPT. Again, ChatGPT is not artificial intelligence, nowhere close to artificial intelligence, but it actually has a very good feature set for if you want to do things like code auditing. If your code is not working because you close something with a double quotation mark when you're supposed to close it with a single quotation mark, dumping your code into ChatGPT and saying what I do actually can be very useful. So that's good for extra help. Standardization. So you guys can use whatever the hell you want to use. To be clear, in here, I'm using a Mac computer and we use VS Code. So VS Code, every coder I know uses VS Code. It's one of the amazing products that Microsoft has put out. It is free. No licenses or anything else. We use VS Code because, again, if I need to troubleshoot or anything like that, if everybody is using the exact same IDE, it makes it a lot easier. If we do screen shares or things like that, I know what the hell I'm looking at. If you use, you know, Notepad++ or PyCharm, I don't know, there's a lot of IDEs out there. Right, I will do my best. I'm a teacher. I will try to help you, but it's going to make my life a lot harder. Again, Am I going to be helping you with code, or am I going to be troubleshooting your system? Material, just so you know, all of these classes do get recorded, and then they do get uploaded to YouTube. So if you go to the Eli, the Computer Guy channel, you'll notice I have the previous classes up here. AI and Python, OpenAI API with Python. That was the introduction we did on Tuesday. Custom functions and OS modules, REST APIs, all of this kind of stuff. So all this is getting uploaded as we do these Zoom classes. And of course, I've got, I don't know, God knows how many classes, going back all the way to 2009 if you want to watch those. Let's see here. And GitHub. GitHub is the important one. So if you go to github.com/siliconjojo, and then you go to online classes, this is where all the material is, right? So CSS, HTML, Python, if-else statements, all that kind of stuff. So today, web scraping with OpenAI. If you click on this, you can see that we have the code samples here. So again, any of the code samples, if you just want to take a look at, you can see all of that here. We have the labs. So again, the labs, you want to take a look at that. Those are here. And then also the bigger ones is before you do the classes, we have the workbooks and notebook. I would recommend that you download and print. So the workbook is basically the slides in PDF format, 3 to a page, and you can use that for writing notes. So all the slides that I do. And then the lab book is basically, the lab book is the labs, and basically more in a text format like this. So you can print that out and you can do the labs if you want to. And finally, trolls. Trolls. So we've been doing good. We have been doing classes for about a month, and the trolls did not know we existed. And then last week, the trolls found us. The trolls found us. Damn it. So I want all these classes, I want everything that I do to be open. The problem is when you do things open in the modern world, gotta get assholes. You're gonna get assholes. So how I'm trying to solve that problem is you are all muted. You are not allowed to unmute yourself unless I unmute you. And when I look at the chat stream, if I start to see stupidity in the chat stream, I'm just gonna turn the damn chat stream off. Like this whole question about moderation and that. I'm a simple guy. I'm an Aspie. I'm a simple guy. Stupid crap starts going on the chat stream gotta go bye-bye for that particular class. So we're gonna try to do that as far as the trolls are concerned. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Trolls! Trolls, trolls, trolls. Okay. So anyways, anybody have any questions before we dive into the class today? Any hands up? Got about 14 people. Nope. And no stupidity. Good deal. I always like it when we're not doing stupidity. So we're going to be talking about web scraping with OpenAI today. Basically, we're going to be talking about the death of web publishing. Craig Newmark, back in the late 90s, created something called Craigslist, and he destroyed the entire newspaper industry by getting rid of classified ads. A lot of people don't realize that classified ads were the actual profit driver for most newspapers, and when Craigslist came through, that killed most newspapers. Not only did he kill most newspapers, but he was so uninterested in money, he also didn't actually make very much money, so he could invest it into other things, which was really kind of sad. But anyways, right, that's what killed newspapers. And now I honestly think that LLMs are going to end up basically killing web publishing. And the reason is because you can very, very, very easily scrape other people's information, toss it into an LLM and say, hey, please make me a 500-word blog post. And about 10 seconds later, it will give you a 500-word blog post, and away you go. Now, anybody that's been in the technology industry for any length of time, you have run into SEO experts, right? The used car salesman of the tech world. Complete and utter bastards, every damn one of them. And I will say that, right? But again, the SEO experts, right? They go out there and, up until this point in time, they've paid people in Bangladesh or whatever to write blog posts. They paid Fiverr people to write blog posts. And if you go to Google now, if you go to Google and you do a search, right? If you went back and you did a search 10 years ago, the results are pretty good. Nowadays, you do a search, God knows what crap you get out, right? Because everybody's getting ghostwriters and everything to write all these blog posts in order to get their SEO, in order to get some kind of advertising value or whatever, right? So think about the modern world of the internet. Now imagine, instead of having a warehouse of people in Bangladesh that actually have to type out each one of those 500 word posts and get paid 25 cents per post or whatever. Now imagine if you just had one script that was just constantly on a wild true loop. It was just on a wild true loop, and every 10 seconds it popped out a new blog post. And imagine if that's happening on this server, and on another server, and on another server, and on another server, and on another server. Imagine, and we literally, the technology we have right now, you can create 1,000 blog post site in less than an hour. Imagine when SEO experts are doing that at scale. And that is when the internet dies. But anyways, it is how it is. It is how it is. So I'm going to teach you how all of this kind of stuff works. Let's see here. Is this legal? Um, I am not a lawyer. I'm a technology professional. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of question marks. Everything that I'm going to be showing you today, I am showing you this from a technical skill set. I am showing you what you can do and how you were able to accomplish it. Doing it at scale in the enterprise to make money, that's for you to figure out. Again, one of the interesting things, if you go to YouTube, everybody on YouTube is a copyright expert, and they will pontificate for an hour about why what they do is considered fair use. They're morons. Again, I actually have a criminal justice degree. I looked into all this when I started creating, when I started creating videos. It was actually something called Everyman IT back in 2009. Coming from a criminal justice background, I actually went through and I researched the laws and all that kind of stuff. There's some very interesting stuff as far as fair use and copyright is concerned here in the United States. But one of the things is if you go to the Copyright Office, and you look at their front page literally says, as far as fair use is concerned, nothing is decided until a judge decides it, right? There are some rules of the road, but if somebody's willing to pay $450 to $1,000 an hour to take your ass to court, you're about to have a very bad day. You're not going to know until you get to the other side. Again, there was a fair use case, Ethan and Klein, H3H3. Ethan Klein and Hilla Klein, H3H3, they went to court about 4 years ago over a fair use question. They were victorious after they literally spent $200,000 to defend themselves. So yay, after they spent 200 grand, they weren't guilty. So, American criminal justice system. Lovely. It's how the world really works. Again, squirrel. Is this legal? Squirrel? It is important for you to be thinking about, though, if you're going to be a technology professional or if you are a technology professional, do remember, tech professionals answer the questions their clients do not know to ask. So if one of your clients wants this kind of stuff, it is actually your duty as a professional to go out and try to figure out some answers for them. And again, one of the reasons I'll also be a little opaque about this is one of the big issues that I have right now with a lot of people that watch my content or a lot of people that watch American content is it's amazing how many Sri Lankans, are screaming about the Constitution, our Constitution, right? The Bill of Rights. What the Bill of Rights says. And it's like, yeah, you're Sri Lankan. It doesn't say anything about you, quite literally. The Constitution of the United States is between the U.S. citizens and our government. There was an amendment that was for the federal government. There was an amendment that then made it for the state governments too. One of the important things to understand, especially if you're a non-American, hate to say foreigner, but a non-American that's watching this, all this stuff about things like fair use, your country literally might not have that legal concept. Again, and that's something to actually be very concerned about, especially when we go in the technology world, right? If you're in another country and you're watching my content, and I talk about fair use, and I talk about freedom of speech, and I talk about all these wonderful things that we have in America, it may not have a goddamn thing to do with you. So do be very careful about that. And so that's one of the things is when you go out and you sell this kind of product or you implement this, you need to start understanding where things fit in. Tech professionals are responsible for the laws, regulations, and licensing, not simply being able to write the code. I personally am just a guy in a basement with a webcam. And that is what I'm going to say on that kind of stuff. But be very, very careful. Again, especially for the non-Americans out there. It gets sad sometimes when I see these people and they're screaming about the Constitution. My constitutional right, like, Constitution has nothing to do with you. You're in Sudan. I don't know what your Constitution has, but it's not the same as mine. Oh, let's see here. Basic architecture. So when we start talking about web scraping, again, architecture is my favorite word in the tech world. One of the things we need to be thinking about is basically how is this system going to work, right? We got to be thinking about overall system. So when you use ChatGPT, use something like ChatGPT, that is a finished product. They have their architecture. You input information somehow, make a query, make a request, it gives you a response back. Again, when we're in the Python world, when we're in these classes, we're writing everything out. We actually have to write everything out, so we have to think about what our architecture looks like. So first thing, right, we've got our script. And so the first thing that we're going to need to do is we are going to need to go out and we are going to actually need to access our data. So for today, for web scraping, we're going to be accessing web pages, we're going to be accessing RSS feeds, and we're going to be accessing YouTube transcripts, right? So basically what we have to do is we have to figure out for our script how we are going to go out and how we are going to get this data. All right, so generally we can use something called a get function. There's a request module, a get function, and so we can go out and we can grab the information off of a web page or out of an RSS feed. But one of the things to be thinking about, especially as a technology professional, is we are never trying to reinvent the wheel, right? If somebody else built a wheel, we'll just use that one. That makes life a lot easier, right? So again, that's one of the things to be thinking about, like with YouTube transcripts, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh my golly, how am I going to write my code so that my script is able to understand what a YouTube video is? It's like, why the hell would you do that? YouTube already creates transcripts of all their videos. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to grab a text file and parse that? Yes, right? And so that's one of the things to be thinking about when we go out to grab data. So we're going to be using, it's called YT YouTube transcription API module or whatever. But basically when we go to YouTube, right? You go to YouTube, you see the video or whatever, then right beside the video, there's a little transcript button. And basically what this module does is it goes and it grabs all of the information from that transcription button and it pulls it in. So you have nice, pretty text that you can deal with. Again, as a systems guy, because that's basically what I am, a systems guy, I know how to deal with text. Like I don't actually want to figure out how to make a computer see things. I do not want to reinvent OpenCV. I do not want to reinvent Whisper. I want text. If I have text, it's very easy to do if-else statements. If I just have pixels of certain colors and spaces on a page, it's not going to be fun to deal with, right? So anyways, we're going to bring the data in, and the next thing we need to think about doing is sanitizing that data. And so we need to sanitize the data for two reasons. The good technology reason, and then the morally questionable reason. All right, so the first thing we need to do with sanitizing the data is just basically clean the data up in some way, just to make our lives easier. So we're going to be using a module today called BeautifulSoup4. And what that's going to do is we're going to bring in all of the information from a web page. And then with BeautifulSoup4, we can simply pull out the text within certain text. If I want the article or all of basically the news story, the blog post, I can simply say get all p tag text, and it can grab all the text, just the normal text within the p tags, and then I just have that information, right? If I want the title of the post, I can just ask for the title, that kind of thing, right? And so one of the important things to be thinking about when we're sending our data up to OpenAI, right, is we're going to get charged based off of the token usage. And now normally, unless you do something asininely stupid, it shouldn't cost a lot of money, right? 1,000 tokens, more or less, is going to cost you a fifth of a penny. 1,000 tokens equals about 750 words. So you upload a 750 word blog post, you ask for it to rewrite it and give you a different 750 word blog post back, and you're looking at half a penny. Not a big deal. But here's the problem, right? If you pull down a web page, normally, not only are you going to be getting the title and the information and all that, the stuff that you're expecting, but remember, a web page has all the formatting information. It has CSS, it has JavaScript, it has whatever the hell else they've dumped into that, right? So in order to get 600 words of blog post, you may get 30,000 words or whatever of everything else. And so one of the things you need to be thinking about doing is essentially when you pull the data in from whatever source, basically how can you clean it up so you only are dealing with the part that you need so you can send that up to OpenAI, right? If you got a few extra pieces of text, right? If you got 100 extra words or 200 extra words, who the hell cares? Again, it's going to be a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny. That doesn't matter. If you're doing the difference between 600 words and again 30,000 words, that might be expensive. And again, at scale, over and over and over and over again. That is one of the issues if you use GPT-4. So when we talk about these tokens, there's something called a context window. The context window is the total number of tokens that can be used. One of the nice things when I started doing these classes about a year ago is the largest context window they had back when I started doing these classes was 4,000 tokens. So about 3,000 words, 4,000 tokens. That was the largest context window you could have. Well, again, at a fifth of a penny, basically what that means is even if you screwed everything up, even if you totally screwed the pooch on your code, the worst you would be out was a penny. Every time you screwed up on OpenAI API call, you might lose a penny. That's not too bad. Again, at scale, while true loop, that can get expensive, but normally 1 penny is not too bad. The issue is the context window now is 128,000 tokens. A fifth of a penny times 128 or whatever, I guess it comes out to, starts to actually get expensive if you start making mistakes. So that was the thing, like before, if you try to upload an entire web page, and again, it was too damn big, it would fail out because you did 4,000 tokens, you'd pay a penny, you'd clean up your code. Now you upload that entire damn thing, you may get charged 30 cents for every time you do that one particular request, which gets to be a bit of a disaster. So that's one of the things you need to be thinking about, is basically how, once you have the data, how on your script, on your server, where it doesn't cost you anything, how can you just get out the specific information that you need? The other thing, from a more questionable standpoint, is that with OpenAI and with other AI services, they are trying to add quote unquote security. I really don't know what their security means, but they're trying to add it. One of the issues you can have with that, one of the issues you can have with that, is if you upload content to OpenAI, and very specifically in that content, it has information about copyright and things, OpenAI may simply not deal with that particular post. You can get some security warnings or whatever that basically says, we are not allowed to do X, Y, or Z with copyrighted material. So anyways, one of the things that you might look at is you get some failures because of copyright material, writing something in your script to basically delete that kind of information out. And that's the kind of thing you need to be thinking about with sanitizing the data before it goes up. You then send it up to OpenAI. Basically, you send your data with a request to OpenAI. OpenAI will then send back a response. You parse that response, and then you store it or into a data store or do whatever it is that you want to do. So this is kind of like the architecture and the system to be thinking about when we're talking about web scraping. Okay, let's see here. OpenAI. So, OpenAI is not ChatGPT. So I've been getting this question a lot. OpenAI is the API side. So OpenAI is the overall company, but for the API, OpenAI is what you're dealing with. ChatGPT is its own thing. I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT, plus I have an API account and do my programming over there. So you actually do need a different account for this. Different account. The API key should be an environment variable. And as I say that, I need to document environment variables better. So back before, again, about a year ago when I was doing these classes, the normal way of putting your API key into OpenAI was just to have it in the script itself. That is horrible security. That is absolutely god-awful security. So they're really trying to push you into this idea of having your API key as an environment variable. The issue is actually getting environment variables to work can be a bit of a pain in the butt. So that's where if you go over to the quick start guide, again, if you go to platform.openai.com, you create your account. This is where it will tell you how to set up Python, how to set up your API key, and go from there. You may have to go through some troubleshooting processes to get your environment variables to work properly, but that's its own thing. I'm going to do a class with environment variables and all that kind of stuff in the future. I've just got to, that's the thing, like when you teach, when you do something, when you're doing something in the professional world, all you need to do is make it work. You need to make it work, you need to vaguely document what you did, and then you walk the hell away. When you're teaching people all around the world with whatever the hell systems that you people are dealing with, you have to figure out how to do something like 5 or 6 different ways, and then how to troubleshoot the process if it fails 5 or 6 different ways and everything else. And I just haven't figured that one out yet. But anyways, environment variables, I don't know, it's its own world. Let's see here. Yeah. And then let's see, the basic request. So just so you see how the basic request works. Nope. Oh, okay. So yeah, just so you see how the OpenAI, the basic request works. Again, we did this in our other class. Here, we have from OpenAI, import OpenAI. So we install the OpenAI module into our Python environment, Python 3 space -m pip install OpenAI. That's what will install it. And this is how we call it. So if you've been able to set up your environment variable properly, this is the line of code that you should use here. Client equals OpenAI function, and then everything should work properly. If you can't figure out how to make the damn environment variables to work, no worries. You can do that with this class. All you do down here, what we have commented out, is OpenAI key equals the key that you get from OpenAI, then client equals OpenAI API underscore key equals that variable name, and then it'll be able to work. So if you got the environment variables working, this is the code you need to run. If you're like me, and you're like, damn it. Anyways, this is how you can just put your API key directly into your script and go from there. If we take a look at this, this is what the request looks like for basically text information from OpenAI. Completion equals, so our variable name is going to be completion, client.chat.completions.create. That's just what you do. Model, so this is where you can put what model you want, and then messages. So you can have system, assistant, or user roles in your messages. We're just going to use system and user. Assistant isn't what it used to be. System is basically what is the character? What is the character that your AI is playing? Is he a Shakespearean poet or John? I don't know, whatever your character is. So you are a helpful assistant, and then you put the query in. So most of our scripts is going to be a variable name, so we can put a variable value in here. Right here, we're just going to say hello. And so basically we're saying you are a helpful assistant, and my query, my comment to it is hello. Then we come down here, and if you want the message, again, we talked about this in the OpenAI class, response equals, so we get the response back, so completion dot choices at index 0 at message at content. That will get us a response. So if everything works properly, I run this, I say to OpenAI hello, and it says, hello, how can I assist you today? Ooh, that is AI for you. So that's the basic OpenAI thing. And again, this is basically what we're going to be building on today. Again, and this is where I talk with a lot of people about AI. Like a lot of people who want to get into technology, they get scared. They're like, Eli, I'm not smart enough to do AI. Are you smart? Are you smart enough to copy and paste this? Because that's all this really is, right? This has to be this essentially. This is this. You modify that. You modify that, and then you write this out. Like, this is that's AI. Are you smart enough to do that? I think you're smart enough to do that, right? That's where my phrase, AI is hard, APIs are not. Anyways, but that's what we're going to be dealing with. We have Jock Stroud who has a question. Unmute. What's up, Jock?
Hey, thanks, Eli. I'm sorry I missed the last class. I'm watching the video now. I'm going to try to finish completion. You might have said this last on Tuesday, but there's really two questions. One, um, I thought, again, you might have said it later in the video, but I thought you said you don't want to put our API keys in our code in a sense. You wanted so someone could scrape it or take it in a sense. That was the first question.
Yep.
And second question, when we sending information to ChatGPT and we want to read the P tag only, so we don't get a big bill. What if we're not doing P tag, but we're doing like we're scraping for like the numbers, like a data file or a CVC, CSV data structure in a sense. Like just basically like we're getting numbers instead of words. Does it still cost the same in a sense? Those are my two questions.
Two questions. Okay, so the first question is, yeah, this is a dumbass idea. You really shouldn't do this. But it does work. And the reason is, the big reason is because all of you should have your wonderful GitHub accounts, and you should all be uploading all of the projects and you scripts that you do to GitHub. Again, I know lots and lots and lots of recruiters, and the first thing that they do when they get your resume is they go to GitHub. And basically, they're not actually looking for good code. Thank God. They're just looking for you to be active. Like that's one of the big things. Like we have a lot of people in the technology world, they want to make the money of a technology professional. They don't actually want to do this, right? So simply seeing whether or not you're active is important, right? And so the issue is like with these labs, so this is Autoblog, right? So this is actually the code that we're going to do in the lab for creating the Autoblog. And so you will notice here that all it says is client equals OpenAI, right? So since this is an environment variable, and I was able to set it up on my computer, right? All I have to do is I can call the function, and there's no way for anybody to scrape that API key, right? So this is public, and so you can have scraping bots, basically what I'm showing you today. We can have scrapers that go through, and they basically look for API keys, they dump it into a database, and then your credit card bill goes through the roof, right? And so that's why you don't want your API keys normally in your code because they're very accessible. If a hacker is able to access your code, it's literally just a text file, and they can copy and paste it and start doing stuff with it. The issue that you run into though is again when you're trying to teach a class to people all around the world, you've got all kinds of different systems. Again, that's the problem with teaching technology. The problem with doing technology isn't Python, right? Python is dirt simple. Linux is dirt simple. Networking is dirt simple. All this stuff is dirt simple. The problem is when you get that into a stack. When you have Linux that has to communicate with Python, which has to communicate with modules, that has to communicate with APIs, that have to communicate with a database, right? Each one of these things is simple. Them all communicating with each other is where everything kind of goes to hell. And so that's what I'm talking about with this environment variable there. The environment variable shouldn't be a big deal. I did not think it was going to be a big deal until it was. And so that's why with this code, I'm just telling you, you can do it this way. This functions perfectly. If you're trying to learn how to do OpenAI calls, if you're trying to do these other things to understand how AI works and how Python works and how all these modules work together, doing it this way will functionally work fine. You won't run into any issues. The issue is it's not the right way to do it. But again, I have to create the documentation for the right way to do it. And that's where you get into the, being an instructor. I ran into somebody, there was a meetup years and years and years ago. And there was this one jackass that walked up to me, and he was like, "Yeah, man. So, if those that can do and those who can't teach, what does that make a blogger?" That's like somebody's about to punch your dumb ass because again, like, how do you teach the stack? And again, that's why as technology professionals, this is why we're valuable. We are not valuable for any one layer of the stack. We're valuable. We're valuable for when you give us this project in X amount of time, this thing will be deployable. And that's a little bit hard in the whole instruction. That was the API key. Oh, crap. There's another question. You get so many questions sometimes. Crap. Junk, damn it. Where are you, Junk? What was your second question?
The second question was when we do a call to
Oh,
ChatGPT,
yeah.
and got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, that's the whole thing with tokens. They obfuscate the cost of these calls so that you don't really know how much it's going to be, right? It's very easy to budget if you know how much things are going to cost. Not so much if you don't. One of the things you can do is like when you put a completion up, right? So when you do this completion, you are going to get a full response back for completion, right? So if I do this, if I run this, this is going to be the ugly ass response, right? And so we take a look at this. So we got completion dot choices at index 0, message, content, hello, how I can assist you today, right? So this is one of the values in this disaster. One of the things you can look for though is total tokens. See, so it says usage equals, and then collection tokens, prompt tokens, total tokens. So we can see 28. So again, 1,000 costs you a fifth of a penny, and we're only using 28 of those. So, oh crikey. Well, we can do, I think it's usage. So I can do Control C, Control V. Oops. All right, Control V. So we do choices equals 0. So we don't want choices. We want usage, I think total. Let's see if that works. So we do usage total tokens, total tokens, total tokens. And then we run that. Oops. Anyways. And there we go. So we can see for total tokens, then it took us 28. So we can simply print that out. And so basically what you could do is when you're making these requests, you can dump this amount or that number into your database, whatever your data store is, and then you can start to understand what your queries should cost. So that's basically how you can do it. So yeah, when you get back this completion, there's a lot more information in there. Just for these projects, all we care about is that message. Does that make sense, Jack?
Yes. So you can put a cap on the tokens. The question is, they consider so a token could be a string or a number as well. So say for instance you have a word like the cat or dictionary, that is it's going to be the same. That's going to be three tokens. But if you have a number like 2, 3, or 50,000, those still considered three tokens, even if it doesn't matter how many length it is.
A token, when you do these tokens, a token is a word, a part of a word, or a symbol. What that actually means practically, that's a hell of a question. I don't know. That's going to get you a little too deep today.
Oh, okay, I'll just wait till we go over environments and
Yep.
probably make more sense then or ask.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Good deal. Okay, so hope everybody understands that with the basic request here. And so yeah, again, when you get this completion back, there's a whole bunch of additional information there. And depending on the code that you're going to be writing, you may care about different things. So you're going to notice this. This does look like a JavaScript response. So normally when we're dealing with sets in the In the Python world, you basically, it looks like arrays. Everything's within square brackets, so square bracket, key name, square bracket, index number, that type of thing. This is actually a class within OpenAI. This is their own class for data structure. And so you do it this way in OpenAI because they tell you to. This is just the new standard. Again, if you go back a year ago, it looked much more like parsing through a normal Python data set. For some reason, they changed it to this. You can modify it to JSON, but that's its own little disaster if you're following along with any of what I just said there. Let's see here. So the request module. So the request module is an important one for a lot of the projects that we're going to be doing. Basically, what the request module allows us to do is it allows us to interact with web pages, or basically things that are on the web. We can basically get text or get information from web pages. We can get files that are up on the internet, basically video files, media files, that type of thing. In order to get the request module, so this is a very standard normal module. I don't understand why it's not part of the basic configuration for Python. But again, Python 3 --m pip install requests, and that will give you the request module. If we go over and take a look at the get request, this is basically about as simple as it gets. So from request, import get, so get is the function, result, so that's going to be the variable name, get, and then you just simply put your URL in here. So when we were dealing with JSON before, that's normally where you use get, to be honest with you. But anyways, you put whatever URL you want here, and then you have to use a method that basically will say what kind of information you want this to be. So when this comes back as just an object, everything in Python is an object. Sometimes you have to tell it what kind of object you want it to be. So again, in JSON, if you want to be able to parse it in JSON, you have to put .json at the end. If we do this as .text, basically it will go up to this web page. It will grab all of the text there. It will be formatted as text, and then we can print out the result. And just to kind of show you how this web scraping works, we're going to create a file. So with open ars.html, so we're going to create a file called ars.html, W for overwrite as file, and we're simply going to write the result into that file. And again, to show you how easy it truly is to steal information off of the internet. So anyway, so if I go and I run this, and this has no API keys, this isn't going through anybody else, I'm just doing this. Basically, this will run, and this is the text that gets printed out, right? So when we do this print result, this is all the text. And again, this is what I'm telling you. Not only do you get the blog post and the title, you get a whole bunch of other stuff. And if you send all of this up to ChatGPT or to OpenAI, you will get billed for all of this. This is one of the reasons why you want to sanitize the data. But the more interesting thing is if we go over, whenever you're dealing with files, remember the default, unless you change it, it will go to your home directory. So we can see this file was just created called ars.html. And so you'll notice this file is on my computer. I can double click this. Oh, it opens up in Safari. It's too small. You guys probably can't see it. But it says file users Eli ars.html. This web page is being presented from my computer because I copied everything. And so as you can see, this is all, it is kind of weird here. So all the text resides on my computer. Anything that links back to Ars Technica is still getting pulled from Ars Technica. That's why you have images and that type of thing. But basically, this is just sitting on my computer now. Again, that's why like the Ars video does not work properly and some other stuff there. But yeah, so like literally, you can have a script that goes up, grabs all the information from a web page and dumps it onto your computer, and there you go. So that's basically the idea with the request. But obviously, as far as parsing or dealing with it, that's not the best way to deal with things. And that's why you need to use something like Beautiful Soup. So BeautifulSoup4, don't ask me why it's called Beautiful Soup. I have no idea. BeautifulSoup4 is a module, and the module is used for parsing web pages. So you may have heard of something called regex or regular expressions. And so what regex is is really cool. It's basically a functionality that allows you to go through and create patterns for what you want to copy out of a document. So let's say you want to copy out all of the email addresses. You can create this regex, what's called a regex, that basically says numbers or letters, uppercase or lowercase, that have an at, and then letters and numbers, uppercase and lowercase, and then a dot, and then letters with up to 3, right? And basically it'll go through, and if you're trying to scan out, simply scan out all of the email addresses from a document file, you can use a regex in order to do that. And so if you're going to be going through and you're going to be parsing something like a web page, theoretically you could use regex. The thing is, regex is a right pain in the ass. The way that I try to explain it to any kind of net system administrators is just like creating your own subnet masking. Seems really simple, but everybody hates to do it for some reason. That's the same kind of thing with regex. The way that system administrators hate custom subnets is the way that coders hate regex. So one of the nice things with using a module like this is you get a lot of the power for being able to pull out specific types of information without having to deal with regex. And if you're like, I don't understand what regex is, we'll have classes on it later. Anyways, in order to install this, again, because we got to install it, Python 3 space -m pip install BeautifulSoup4. Basically what BeautifulSoup does is it parses either HTML or XML. XML is extensible markup language. Basically it's for customized tagging or whatever, but anyways, it can parse it. The basically idea is you use soup equals, so you get a variable name, you do BeautifulSoup as the function, you put in the text you want to parse, and then you plug in a parser. So there are different parsers out there that you can use. There's an XML parser, there's multiple different HTML parsers. They all do better or worse jobs theoretically. The default is HTML.parser, and that's what we will simply deal with. And then basically, the way to deal with it, take a look at it, is we can go to SoupDopy. And so, again, basic, pretty simple script here. From request, import get. From BS4, again, this is weird. BS4 is the actual name of the module to call import BeautifulSoup. Page, so the page we're going to be going to is that Ars Technica page. So we're going to get the Ars Technica page, and we're going to turn it into text. So we're going to get all of it. We're going to get the JavaScript, we're going to get the CSS, we're going to get all the tags, we're going to get all that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable name. So this variable name can be whatever the hell you want it to be. We're just going to call it soup. Soup equals BeautifulSoup function. We're going to feed it all of that text that we just received, and we're going to send it through the HTML parser. The first thing we can do is we can print soup.prettify. So basically prettify basically makes the output look prettier. So if we do this, basically all you'll see is that, I don't know how pretty it looks to you, but basically the idea here is that you're trying to go through and actually figure out what the hell's going on with this particular page. What prettifying does is it does all the tabs and it does all the spacing, so it's a lot easier for a coder to try to come through and figure out what the hell's going on. That's all we're talking about. We talk about prettify. So we do prettify sometimes with something called dump, a function called dump in JSON, where you just get this block of JSON, you're trying to figure out how to read it. So you make it pretty, you prettify it to make it all line up with spacing and everything, and then you can try to figure out what the hell's going on with JSON. Same idea with this whole prettify thing. Anyways, we can close that and comment that out. So let's say we want the title of this particular page. So if we go and we do the title, we run this. So all we want is the title for some reason. And so we see title tag. China begins launching a mega constellation, and it sounds a lot like Starlink / Ars Technica, and then you close the title tag, right? So it grabs the title tag and everything in the title tag, which may or may not be useful for you. So one of the things that you can do is you can then simply ask for just the text, right? So print soup.title.text. So I just want the text that's between the title tags. And then we do this. And so we see China begins launching a mega constellation, and it sounds a lot like Starlink, and you have no tags in between. And again, that's going to be a big thing. Again, when we start talking about cleaning up your data, getting rid of things like tags and that type of deal is a big thing. So we can do that. With this, print, so we use soup, so the soup variable, you can do find all, and then you can say what kind of tag you're looking for. So I want all the H1 tags, I want all the P tags, the P tag is what we care about. You want all the A tags, maybe the image tags, whatever it is you're looking for. So we're gonna say we wanna find all the P tags. So soup.findAll function, P within single quotation marks, and what this is going to do is it's going to find everything, all the P tags, and then it's going to put them into a list. So the first P tag will be at index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, so on and so forth. So if we go through and we do this, now we can see we get something that is a lot more manageable, right? You know, before, when we got all the information from this web page, it was a complete disaster. But now we can start seeing stuff, right? Chinese officials have long signaled their interest. A Long March 6A rocket was delivered. Fan translates to 1,000 sales, right? That starts to look a lot better. But you still got these damn tags, right? You got the P tag here, you got the P tag there. You got all that kind of stuff. Is that really what you want? So what you can do is you can come down here. And so what this is going to do is, I didn't create the variable. We're just doing this all in this one little line. So we're going to do a for loop. So soup.findAll is going to create a list of everything within p tags. So for line in soup.findAll p tags, print the line, so the line, but we just want to print the text, dot text. So what that will do is if we run this, it will print out in all these lines, and look at that. We have nice, pretty text that we can do whatever the hell we want with. There's no P tags, there's no JavaScript, there's no CSS. We just get a nice little article here that we can play around with, then again, send to OpenAI or whatever else. And again, it's relatively easy to do. Beyond things like being able to find all the P tags, like this is for Ahrefs. So let's say you want to find all of the links on a web page for some reason. For line in soup, find all. We're going to do a tag this time. Then we say print line.get. So again, it's different here. So we're basically getting anything that has a href in it. So an a href is a link. And if we print this out, we will now see that from that particular page, these are all of the links that are on that particular page. So again, when you're trying to grab this information, this might be valuable for you for some reason. You got a political link, you got a Le Monde link, a Russi link, whatever else. Anyways, and so this is basically what Beautiful Soup allows you to do relatively easily. Is it allows you to go in, grab the specific information that you need out of a web page so that you can deal with it in Python. Beautiful Soup then. So Beautiful Soup to OpenAI. Basically what you do is you use the request module to pull all the text down from the web page. You use Beautiful Soup to pull out specific information that you care about from the web page, and then you send it to OpenAI and you make the request from OpenAI. BS OpenAI. Really do need to work on my name sometimes. Where is BS OpenAI? Uh-oh. That's a good question. Hold on one second. Let me scroll over here. Where is my BS OpenAI? BS OpenAI. File. Save as. Hmm. Okay. So here to Zoom classes. Go OpenAI. Web scraping. BS OpenAI. Okay. So this is the script that we're going to be dealing with here. Shrink that down. Shrink that down. This is something called code folding for anybody that's new here. One of the things with formatting like this, even when you're doing other languages like CSS or HTML where you don't need to, is if you click on the little arrow there, it kind of shrinks everything up. So it's a little bit easier to scan through your code. So if you have a whole bunch of functions and you're trying to figure things out, instead of having all those functions open, you can close them up. You can figure out where the calls are being made, open the function as you need to, that type of thing. Okay, so take a look at this. So from OpenAI, import OpenAI. From request, import get. From BS4, import Beautiful Soup. This is where we're going to create the connection with OpenAI. If you have the environment variable, this is what you do. If you don't have the environment variable, this is what you do. Then we have two custom functions. So we had that class, I don't know, a week or two ago about custom functions. So what functions are useful for, again, in the coding world, is basically you can have a block of code that does very specific things, and then you set it up as a function, and then you can call it from different places in the script, and if there's any issues, it's just in this one location. You don't have to rewrite it 1,000 times or that type of thing. The other thing, too, is, again, even if you're not calling it from different places, simply the ability to close or do this cool code folding, that kind of thing is nice with the functions. So anyways, we have an AI function here and a scrape function here that I'll get to in a second. So we have the URL. So the URL that we're going to be going to is the Ars Technica. So again, you just grab a blog page, Ars Technica, Engadget, Gizmodo, whoever else. You just dump that in there. And then we're going to do a query. So that's a query is the question. What question are we asking OpenAI? So provide a 20-word summary of this article. The first thing that we're going to do is result underscore BS for Beautiful Soup equals the scrape function, and we're going to send it the URL. So URL is Ars Technica. We are going to send Ars Technica to the scrape function that I wrote. We then open this up. So this is all the scrape function is. So page equals get. So the request get. So we're going to get the URL, and we're going to turn it into text. So that Ars Technica is going to come in, all the JavaScript, all the CSS, everything else. Soup equals Beautiful Soup. The page, all that text, we're going to send it through the HTML parser. Post equals soup.find all P's. So everything that's within a P tag, that's going to be sent to a list as post. Then I'm going to create an empty variable called text, right? So I've got a list. Theoretically, I guess I could send that to OpenAI, but it'd be ugly as hell. So what I want to do is I want to clean that up again, get rid of all the P tags and everything else. So we're going to have text, and the text is what we're going to return at the end of this. For line in post, so for line in post, text equals whatever the text previously was plus line.text. So instead of having P tags, so it starts with blank, and then whatever the first line is just the line without the tags. And then it loops. So the first line, then it adds a second line without the tags. And it adds a third line, and the fourth line, and the fifth line, right? So basically it's building up all the text that's been cleaned up, and that's going to be sent out. And then we're simply going to return that new text value. So that return comes down, and that value there is assigned to result underscore BS. Right? So then we have result underscore AI equals the AI function. We're going to send it the query, and we're going to send it the results. So we're send it all the text with the question that we're asking. And if we go up here to this particular function, again, so we have, for this, we have query and we have page, right? That's right. Query and result BS. Remember, it's position, index 0, index 1, and index 1. So even though this name is different here, it's the index that matters. So AI query page completion, what we did before, equals client.chat completions. We're going to use model GPT-4 system. You are a helpful assistant. Then role, provide answer from this document page. So all of that text that's been brought in, we're just going to say, this is where you're getting the information from. And then role user, content equals query. So once it has all that text, we're then going to ask it the question. We come down here, again, response equals this nasty thing, completion choice is 0 message content. So that will just be the text that OpenAI is giving, and then we're going to send back that text. We come down here, again, that is going to be called result AI. and then we're simply going to print out the value of result AI. So if we run this, it will take a second. Do remember when you're using things like OpenAI, it's not lickety-split, but it's not too bad. China launched 18 Quanfan satellites for its 1,000 sales network, aiming to rival SpaceX's Starlink with state-backed satellite internet service. Right? Right, brings it back that quickly. Again, if you're doing things with, let's say, your own content. So again, when I talk about this, it sounds a little nefarious, like I'm talking about using other people's content, but you can use this for your own content. What if you want tags? Please give me, I don't know, 10 most appropriate tags for this blog post, right? And so you can run this and you'll get the response. So Chinese satellite network, Wi-Fi satellites, blah blah blah. So again, if you're going through, taxonomy is a huge thing in the content creation world. Again, basically, how the hell do you index crap? So you can have this run through all of the blog posts that you actually have created. Try to figure out what the appropriate tags would be if you're going to be tagging for taxonomy, and you can pull out information like this. So that's the basic idea with how you use the request module, BeautifulSoup, and OpenAI. This is how you actually get something. Are there any questions at this point? Anybody getting lost? Okay, sounds good. Oh, let's see here. Then we get to FeedParser. So again, there's a lot of modules out there. Again, do not try to reinvent the wheel. Somebody already invented it for you. And what FeedParser is for is it's for parsing XML files, generally for RSS feeds. And basically what an RSS feed is come on. Yeah, open link. It is something that looks like this. This is ugly as hell. Right, so this is the pre-Twitter world, right? Before technology got truly evil. Before all these Silicon Valley folks tried to buy everything and own everything. Back when we used to have protocols, right? So if you wanted to do communication over the internet, you would use something called the SIP protocol. If you want to do video over the internet, you would use a protocol called RTMP. If you want to send emails on the internet, you would use SMTP. Files would be FTP, right? They were protocols, and then people built products that would actually be able to use those protocols, right? So what we used to have is something called RSS feeds, and the idea is you had all these blog sites out there, or basically content sites out there. They're creating new content. How can they tell people when new content is created? Well, what they did is they created what are called RSS feeds. You could subscribe to an RSS feed. Then you had something called an RSS reader, and basically when new things came out from the people that you were following, or the places you were following, it would simply pop up on those RSS feeders. It was an absolutely amazing piece of technology that's kind of gone by the wayside, but it still actually does exist. It does exist, and so you can use it for tools like this. And so basically, again, this is an RSS feed. This uses XML, so extensible markup language, and with XML, what you have is tags, right? You have all these beautiful, beautiful tags. So you have a channel tag, so this is the overall channel tag. You have the tag for the title of the channel, Ars Technica, all content. You have a link, so the website for Ars Technica. You have a description. You have a last build date. You have all that kind of stuff. And the cool part is you scroll down, and then you get to items. And so the items are the articles. So the first item is string of record hot months came to an end in July. And then what we really care about today is this. This is a link to that page. So again, we start talking about at scale, right? So if I have to go out and manually copy and paste URLs to dump into my script, that's gonna suck. If I can create a script that's simply going to go out and grab all the URLs, and then we do a for loop for every URL that it's found, again, that is where you can build an entire website with 1,000 posts in approximately about an hour, right? So anyways, we have the title here if we care about it. We have the link there. We have other things like publication date and categories. We have a bit of a description of what's going on. July had the 2 hottest days, and you have just a whole bunch of information here. So what basically FeedParser does is it can take this information and it can parse it, pull out the data that you care about, and go from there. One of the things, just so you know, if you look at their documentation. So if you go to FeedParser, read the docs, whatever, they tell you just to grab the feed directly using FeedParser. I found that there was a problem there. If I use the requests get, the get function, to pull on the RSS feed and then have FeedParser deal with it, everything works fine. For some reason, if I try to access the feed directly from FeedParser, it fails. It gives me a bozo error. The error is literally called bozo. Okay, fair enough. So, anyways, if you're trying to play with this, that's the thing I would just say keep in mind. Let's see here, FeedParser basic. FeedParser basic. Here we go. And again, a nice, pretty simple script here. All right, so import. So we're just going to import all of FeedParser from request, import get like we have before. We have 2 URLs here. So this is the Engadget RSS feed. So engadget.com/rss.xml. This is the Ars Technica feed, Ars Technica/index. So you just have to do a Google search to find these. And again, basically what you're looking for is you're looking for an ugly ass web page. If you find a web page that looks like it was built for computers to look at, that's probably the XML feed. Anyways, you just do a Google search. So RSS feed equals get. So we use the get function and the URL, and we want the text back. So basically, we're going to get that entire document and we're going to turn it into text. Feed equals feed parser dot parse that RSS feed. So supposedly you can just plug the URL in there and it's supposed to work. When I do it, I get a bozo error. Maybe it's me, but anyways, that's why I use the get. You try you. And basically, that's all you have to do in order to parse the RSS feed. From there, you can simply then pull out specific information. Print, so feed title. So index feed at index title, that will give me the title of the feed. If I run this, we will then see it says Ars Technica, all content. So I was able to get that. If we then uncomment this, so entries is going to be items. So again, that's one thing when you're dealing with technology is different people use different words. You just got to use the words that you're using. So on Ars Technica's feed, it was called items. See items. So this is an item. See if we can shrink these, right? So that's an item, that's an item, that's an item, that's an item. So this particular item here, a new report finds Boeing blew something up, right? So anyways, basically for FeedParser, it calls them entries. It's just how it is. So for post in feed entries, so this is going to be for all the entries. What I want to do is I want to print out the title, so post at the title index. Use double quotation marks here because it's within an F string. Then I'm going to print out F, and this will be on the next line. I do a /T for a tab, that's ASCII formatting. And then we're going to just simply print out what the description is. So we're going to do title, then go in one, and then do this description. If we run this, then basically we can now see that, Google and Meta ignore their own rules and secret teen targeting ad deals. Because of course they did. Anyways, project disregarded Google rules barring personalization, personalizing and targeting ads to minors. NASA official acknowledges internal disagreement on safety of Starliner return. Right, so basically this is the specific type of information we are able to pull out. I think hopefully it won't break it if I do this. If I do link, that should give me the URLs. There we go. Back up, didn't break. Again, this is the more important thing for us as programmers, right? Again, I just showed you with Beautiful Soup how you can use a URL in order to scrape information. So basically with this, what I'm able to do is I'm able to grab all the URLs for all of the blog posts on Ars Technica, so I can go through and I can scrape them all. And that is basically what there is to FeedParser. Again, if you go to the notes, feedparser.readthedocs.io.en latest. Basically, you can read about FeedParser there. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with FeedParser, but this is the basic idea of what you're going to be doing. Let's see here. Jock, what's up?
All right, sorry, you might. I had to step away for a second, and I got to jump off for a meeting that I didn't know I had to do. One quick question I have to ask this, and you might have addressed this before. We're doing basically scraping for blog posts that doesn't have a gate in a sense, and you talked about this before with another organization about how they're pulling articles from websites that they didn't have, rights to.
Yep.
So, like, what the Wall Street Journal, if they have kind of like a gatekeeper. This doesn't work on like a Wall Street Journal, things like that, because you have to log in to be able to read their articles and their blogs. So this only works if there is no gate to bypass, correct?
Yeah, so what I'm showing you now will only work if there's no gate. Again, with all these kind of things, there's tools out there. So there are other modules and things. There are actually text-based web browsers where you can do things like log into sites. So, but again, you at that point, you truly are violating at least terms of service and most likely the law. So you got to be careful with that. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you very much. I'll have to check the video out. Thanks again.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's the whole. I'm just teaching you what you can do. I'm just teaching you the technical concepts here. So what he was talking about is if there's a wall. So everything that I'm showing you right now, this is open to the internet. I do not have to log in to look at it. Basically, I do not have to log in to scrape it. One of the ways that you can protect your content is by having walls. They don't have to be paywalls. They don't necessarily have to pay, but they do have to like log in or do something to get in. You can put up those kind of walls so that these very basic systems will not be at least able to do what this is doing as easily as it is. But that becomes its own big question. There's also something called a robots.txt file. You will notice in the class today, I've said nothing about the robots.txt file because it don't matter. Don't matter. It's funny in the tech blogs, people have been screaming that OpenAI and all that they ignore the robots.txt file. And it's like, yes, they do. What the robots.txt file is, if you've not heard about it, is basically it's a text file. It's literally .txt. It's a text file that you put on your website that tells anything that's going to crawl your website basically what they should crawl or what they shouldn't crawl. So what it is kind of like a sign that says, you can go here, don't go there. But it's kind of like a crappy sign that they printed out on their dot matrix printer and they put up with a little bit of a tack or something. Just because a sign is there doesn't mean anybody has to even bother reading it, much less follow along. And so that's with the robots.txt file. Again, if you hear about that, yeah, again, nothing that we're doing. I don't even care about the robots.txt file. Like what robots.txt? Oh, does Ars Technica have a robots file? Wow, I don't care. I don't I don't care. Just how it is. Okay, so let's look at this. So FeedParser and OpenAI. So we have a FeedParser and OpenAI script. Here we go for this particular script. And again, we have functions as we had before. Okay, so OpenAI, we're going to be import FeedParser from request import get. We do the client connection as we've done before. We have two functions here. We have scrape the feed, and then we have the AI function. So the URL, so this URL is now going to be to an RSS feed. It's got to go to an RSS feed. And then we have a query. So basically a question, what is going, what question that we want to ask of OpenAI. So what is going on in the news? We're just going to ask that. Let's do something a little bit better here. what is going on with Google? And this is the kind of thing, again, like, and imagine too, right, when we start talking about data sets, you make this bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So when we use Beautiful Soup, we go to one web page, we grab the information. When we use FeedParser, we go to an RSS feed to grab all the information from all those web pages. Well, one of the things to think about is you can create like a list of, let's say, 100 different RSS feeds. So you have a list of 100 different RSS feeds. You scrape all those RSS feeds, dump that information, and then you can do little scripts on things like basic news bulletins or that type of thing. Anyway, so you might be able to ask, who is talking about Google? What websites are talking about Google? If you have an RSS feed for, let's say, blog posts. So Fred Wilson's a big one in the startup world. But anyways, let's say you're an investor or something like that, and you want to take action based off of if specific people care about something. So let's say you're scraping Fred Wilson's RSS feed, and I don't know, whatever, all these people's RSS feeds. And then you say, who is talking about Google? And then it pops up, oh, Fred Wilson is talking about Google. Ooh, maybe I'll invest some money into Google, right? Some of the things you think about. Anyways, we got the URL, we have the question, result underscore text equals scrape underscore feed. So the scrape feed function and the URL. So all we're going to do with the first part is scrape that feed. When we scrape the feed, feed equals get, what the feed is, the text. We're going to parse it, feedparser.parse, that text that came in. As we did before, we need to create the full text so we can actually send something to OpenAI. So we create text as an empty variable for post in feed entries. So for each item in feed entries, text equals text plus the post title, and I do hyphen post description, just so OpenAI knows, right? This is the title, this is the description. You can figure out what you want to do with that. So anyway, so that's just going to build up this big old list. So it's going to build up this list of just text that gives a title and it gives a description. So we can send that to OpenAI, and then we're going to return just that text. We come down here, again, result AI. So we're going to have the query, and we're going to have the result text. So the text that we have, plus the question that we have, is going to go up to AI. Client completion, model, so system, you are a helpful assistant. Content, provide answer from this document. And user, the content is the value of the query, the value of, the value, so this is the question for this text, right? And then we're simply going to print out the result. So what is going on with Google? I can run this script now. Dun, dun, dun. And there we go. Secret teen targeting ad deal. Google and Meta were found to have violated their internal guidelines. DOJ monopoly case. The Department of Justice is seeking to end Google's monopoly. These points indicate that Google is currently facing significant blah, blah. So this can give me, basic information on what's currently going on with Google. I ask simply other things. Again, what are the big news stories? I don't know. Around that. There's only one RSS feed, so I don't know what how good the results will be. There we go. We got 11. We got 11 stories, right? So it tells me. Technology updates, Apple's Mac Mini design update, Apple plans new smaller, DeepMind's table tennis. And so it tries to give you what the big topics are. One of the things I do want you to take a look at here, which is a bit of a disaster, is look at how this text is being formatted and think about how you would parse that. Remember, you get this text back, it's ASCII text, fine. But then you have to create a script to do something with this. And so that's one of the things that you have to start playing around with. We talk about that with like prompt engineer. How do you give specific prompts to OpenAI, not just to get back the right answer, but also to get things formatted properly. Like, look at this. I don't why is it like star star? Star star technology update star star. Star star Mac Mini star star. Star star DeepMind star star. Where does that come from? I don't even know what that is, but it's there, and you're going to create a script that has to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with it too. So that's basically what that looks like for being able to scrape an RSS feed and then feed it off to OpenAI. Then we come down to YouTube transcription. So Python 3 space -m pip install YouTube transcript API. So we take a look at this. Oh, I don't know. Let's say YouTube Lewis Rossman. We will still get you, Louis. Oh, what the fudge? Oh, I have tunnel bear on, don't I? Um, let's just go back to the U.S. Get me back to the U.S. There. I forgot that I had tunnel bear on. I'm like, why the hell is Google giving me this Polish crap? I'm like, oh, because it thinks I'm in Poland right now. I don't even know what that means. There we go. Okay, Lewis Rossman, right? So we go to Lewis Rossman. And we go to something where he's screaming about MKBHD. And basically, I think it's here. No, where is this transcript? There used to be a transcript thing about products and commissions. Huh. Maybe you have to sign in now? Okay, I'm not sure. Anyways, there used to be a link. That is weird. There used to be a link that allowed you to see the transcript. Not sure where it's at. Anyways, what this particular module does is it's able to go and it's able to grab the transcript itself. One of the interesting things that I found is I was trying to get to the transcript files on my own, and it seems to be behind some kind of walls. So the nice part about this module is they figured out how to get around those walls to be able to grab the information for you. Again, every time you're doing anything in technology, do not reinvent wheels. If somebody else figured out how to get the transcripts, generally just use that. Basically, YouTube automatically creates a text of transcripts for videos. So since they're automatically doing this anyway, you can go and you can grab that information. We go and we take a look at YT transcript. It is pretty simple. From YouTube _transcript _API, import YouTube transcript API, and then you give it the video ID. Video ID is basically up here. I don't know if you can really see it from where you are, but it's that there. So Z0DF-MOKOTA, that's the ID. And all you can do is you can simply paste that in there for the video ID. Script equals, so YouTube transcript API, get transcript for the video ID, and then you can print out the entire script. If you do this, it's going to be a bit of a mess. And so basically, this is what the output is going to look like. And it's going to be probably pretty long if it's a long video. Yeah, anyway, so can't get all to it. But what you're going to have is text. So what he was saying is covered it under warranty after being the start time for this bit of text was at this time code, and the duration was for this many seconds. Again, text, trying to make a phone call UL, start time at that time code, duration so many seconds. And so basically, this is what you're going to be getting from the transcript. To try to make this a little bit more easy to read, we can do this at line by line for the text. So basically what we're going to do here is for line in script. We're going to do line, we're going to simply print out the text itself. And so this is where we'll get the long, see, and now we have this nice text. Let's see here. PR piece. We have a responsibility to our audience. We have a responsibility to let them know when they are being gaslit. I am not speaking simply from my own repair shop. This is not just selfish. If you look back through these over 1,000 videos I've done on my channel, I'm suggesting blase, blase, blase. So here is all the text from that particular YouTube video. And again, once you have that as text, you can assign that to a variable value and do whatever it is that you want. So if we go over and take a look at the YouTube with OpenAI, again, it's a lot like we saw before. So with this, we're going to ask information. So we're going to ask me a question, or ask it a question, right? From OpenAI, import OpenAI, import the YouTube transcript API. We do the client as we've done before. And we have the two functions here, one for the transcript, one for the AI. Video ID equals, we'll just plug in. Lewis is there. See what Lewis has to say. Tell me what general sections there are in this video. Right? So it'll tell me maybe what sections there are. Result underscore text equals transcript and the video ID. So we go up here to this function. Script equals basically YouTube transcript API, get the transcript, the video ID that's come in, and then we're simply going to return what the script is. That is going to then be result underscore text. And we do result underscore AI equals AI, the query, the question, with that result text that came from the transcript. Up here, yeah, it's basically the same thing. The completion, model, your helpful assistant, provide answer from this document, the text that came in, and that is the question. So then if we run this, we will get the basic sections for Lewis's video. This is something you have to think about for UI UX. So again, people are very used to fast crap in the modern world. So imagine, so again, we're going to be using the Bottle framework. So in the number of classes coming up, the Bottle framework allows us to build web apps. So people can plug information in, hit enter, and it'll do something. One of the things to be thinking about with these AI services is, you know, what happens when it takes 36 seconds to get a response or something like that? How is that going to work for your system? But anyways, let's see. Introduction. The speaker starts with a greeting and explains why they are covering the topic. Response to Apple's longevity and repairability claims. The speaker debunks Apple's claims that their products are designed for durability. Specific examples, such as the iPhone 7, iPhone 6, MacBook Pro, and various other products are discussed. Apple's repair programs and practices, security, privacy concerns, and the whole nine yards. So basically, it's the same idea that I've shown you before. You use the transcript module to be able to pull out the text. Once you have that text, basically, you can then ask a question of OpenAI about that text. And so that was the YouTube model. So that is the class. So I showed you how to use requests, get. I showed you how to use BeautifulSoup. Showed you how to use FeedParser, and I showed you how to use the YouTube transcript. At this point, before we get into the labs, the actual tippy-tappy work, if any of you are going to do it, do we have any questions at this point? Any questions? No hands going up. You're either the smartest class I've ever had, or you're all asleep. All asleep. Okay, so let's look at the labs then. Let's look at the labs. Let's see here. So we have lab autopost.py. So we're going to write a single blog post and create a featured image. So this is one of the cool things with DALL-E. So again, whenever you're dealing with web content creation, right, there's just certain standards. There's not necessarily a reason for the standard, it just exists. And so one of the standards is things like featured images, the pictures that are supposed to be in blog posts, they're supposed to be rectangular. Right. So anyways, DALL-E 2, the previous version of DALL-E, it made everything squares. So even though you can have it automatically create a picture, it was always going to be a square picture. which was always a bit of a pain in the butt. One of the nice things about DALL-E 3 is you can actually tell it to give you a rectangular picture, a different ratioed picture, and it will do it pretty well. So the cool part about this is we scrape an Ars Technica blog post, we rewrite what they wrote, and we plaster on our own featured image. Now, what I'm showing you today, again, we talk about data stores and architecture. So our data store today is just a crappy ass text file. It's an HTML file. All that is a text file. Again, who the hell cares? What becomes interesting once we start doing classes, you know, a couple weeks down the pike, is once we start connecting this to a database. So imagine if we do this type of thing and it's not going to a text file, it's going into a database. And again, imagine if that database can contain a million different blog posts. And again, you start to understand why content creation is about to be a dead field. Let's see here. Let's go to the labs. Okay. So this is pretty simple. We got 3 custom functions here. So from OpenAI AI, get beautiful soup. Here's how we do the connection. We're going to have 3 different functions here. We're going to have a scrape function, we're going to have the AI function, and then we're going to have the AI image function to get the image from DALL-E 3. URL equals whatever blog post we want to scrape. Query, so this is the thing, create a 20-word summary. Oops. What's that? Oops. That should not be there. That is no longer there because that question is not there. Anyways, so here is our URL. Then we do BS underscore, or result underscore BS. This is going to be the variable, and we're going to scrape this particular URL. We come up and we take a look at the scraping. Again, same thing we did before. So page equals, we're going to get the URL, we're going to get the text, beautiful soup, we're going to feed it the page, we're going to go through the parser, we're then going to find all the p tags, assign that to post, we're then going to go through, and to get the text, we're going to go through each line of the post and only add the text to the text, and then we're going to return the text variable. That value is going to come here. And then we're going to go to result AI, and we're going to feed it that text. So that text that just came back, we're going to feed to the AI function. Close this up. So the AI function, I just have this as query. I got myself confused there. Again, that's why naming conventions are important, so that you don't get confused. Anyways, all this is completions, as we've done before, GPT-4o model. So system, you are a blogger. User role, create a 200-word blog post about, and I simply do hyphen, and then query. So this is an F string. So we put the query in there. And this is some additional stuff. Again, once you start getting the output from OpenAI, you're going to have to tweak the prompts a little bit. I don't want the damn author. You know what I don't want when I steal somebody's content? Them mentioned. So do not mention an author, and the content, do not mention when a post was written. Again, this is why you've got to go through and you got to do user testing, because I was doing this and I had to add that before, but it kept adding the original author and the time it was published, which is not what I want. And then basically I'm going to send back the text. So I'm just going to send back the 200-word blog post. Then I'm going to need a pic. So I'm going to need a picture. So pic name equals AI image result underscore AI. So we go up here, again, that query again. Response equals client.images generate DALL-E 3. Basically the query. So what I'm going to be dumping in here is the result of the AI. So in order to get the picture that I want for this particular blog post, I'm going to send the entire 200-word blog post to it and say, I want an image of this. So that's what's being sent up there. We want one of them, and then this is how we get the rectangular. So 1792 times 1024. So there's the ratio is either 1024 by 1024, 1792 by 1024, or 1024 by 1792. So you get a square, a horizontal rectangle, or a vertical rectangle, right? Then we have this mess. So pick name. So we need a name for the picture. So when we save the image to our drive, so remember, when we use DALL-E 3, it creates an image, but it leaves it up on their data store, leaves it up on the internet. It'll only reside there for about an hour, right around an hour. After an hour, they delete it because they want their storage back. Right, so we have to store it onto our computer. In order to do that, we need a picture name. What the hell are we going to name this thing? And so response. So the response that we get back, right? The response that we get back, one of the things is actually a timestamp on the response. So I'm just going to use that as the name. So we use pick name and f string, basically a timestamp on the response .png because it's a PNG file. So it's going to give us a timestamp as a name .png. Response image equals get response data 0 URL. So this is going to be basically that location. It's actually up on Microsoft Azure. This is the location for where that image is. And so we want to get that. Then what we're going to do is with open pick name. So this is going to be the name of the file that we're going to store. We use the WB mode. So that's write to bits or bytes. Anyways, this is for files. WB is for file. So you W or A, that's all text. You put B on there if you want to save a file, again, an image file, a picture file, a music file, whatever else, as file. File.write response image dot content. So basically the content of this file is going to be saved as this name that we created, and this will be saved to the default location of our user's root directory. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to return back simply the picture name. So this actually saves everything to my computer, so that should be fine. So all I care about sending back is the picture name so that I can reference it in the HTML document. Then what we're going to go down here is we're going to say with open, auto-post.html. So this is going to be our blog post. A for append, so add to as file, file.write, f string, image style. So this is CSS, height is 300 pixels, width is auto, src, the picture name. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to write and we're going to embed the image at 300 pixels high with auto wide and that picture name. Then we're going to do file.write, f string, a p tag, and then whatever the text is, we get back from OpenAI. So that will be the blog post itself. Then we're going to simply print out the information on the console screen so we can see what happened, again, troubleshooting purposes. If I hit run, it'll go, and hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it'll work. We're doing good. We're getting through like an hour and a half and everything's worked. Let's hope it keeps working. Dum, dum, dum. Okay, there we go. So there we go. So this is the image file. And I don't know, some text. We'll see what this looks like. So we're going to go over to Eli. So my home thing, we're going to do auto post. And so these are the things that have been created. Yeah, so this is the latest one, right? So this is the first one that I did. So this is, so we got this nice picture of, I don't know, a lot of solar panels on rockets or whatever. China's ambitious satellite internet plan, the Thousand Sails constellation. Chinese officials have long signaled their interest in deploying a satellite network, or possibly several, to beam broadband internet signals across China and other nations under its influence. Two serious efforts are currently underway in China to develop a rival to SpaceX's Starlink network. So it actually looks pretty good. We got some weird characters in here we might have to screw with, but everything else looks pretty good. This is the post that it just did. Not so good. Anyways, we get a cool rocket. So this is our nice little featured image with rockets on antenna stands or whatever. I don't know, kind of catches. But this is kind of the weird stuff you can get. And again, this is where you go and you deal with prompts and you deal with parsing. So front page layout, site theme. Anyways, Chinese officials have long signaled their interest, blah, blah, blah. Two serious efforts are underway. China's newest rockets and the country's first employee. And it goes on. But then you got some weird stuff down here, like sign me up at Condé Nast, all rights reserved. Use of and registration of any portion of a site constitutes acceptance of our user agreement. I didn't agree to any of that. But anyways, it automatically created this for us. And again, you probably got to go through and got to tweak the prompts a little bit to get something that's pretty decent. Well, that's the idea of that particular lab in order to get an image and to, again, rewrite a blog post. Let's see here. The other lab is lab autoblog.py. Write numerous posts by scraping an RSS feed. Now, do be careful with this. Again, as I've talked about before with things like while loops, you're going to get charged a fifth of a penny, more or less, every time you run one of these things. We are actually going to loop through an entire RSS feed, or we're going to grab an entire RSS feed. I'm going to limit it to only 5 iterations through the RSS feed. But if you forget to do that, you know, an RSS feed is generally between 30 to like 50 items. So it might get a little bit expensive and a little bit slow if you don't make sure you do that. I'll show you that in a second. But let's see, Christopher, what's going on?
I was going to ask, at the end of this, can we possibly see how much you used during this session of just generating images and things like that? To have an idea, like, do you know what you started off like price and how much
Yeah,
you had to OpenAI balance?
we can try to see. I'll pull up the usage. I know I had spent like 52 cents today before the class began, so we'll see how much I spent. Sure.
Okay, just to have an idea. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay, lab autoblog. Okay, so this is the lab autoblog. Yeah. Close everything. Okay. So we're going to use OpenAI, we're going to use FeedParser, we're going to use BeautifulSoup, and we're going to use requests. We create our connection to OpenAI. And we scroll all the way down here, and we need the URL. So this is going to be our RSS feed. Again, Ars Technica, Gizmodo, whoever the hell you want to use. URL underscore list equals build list URL. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a list of all of the URLs for the blog posts that we want to scrape with BeautifulSoup. So we have this build list function here. We go up here. And so all we're going to do is we're going to feed it the URL. RSS feed equals get the URL text. So we're going to get all of that as text. We're then going to parse it, feedparser.parse that RSS feed. We're then going to create a list. So again, these are all individual URLs. So we want them in a list so that we can iterate through them as a for loop. So we create a blank list, URL list, for post in feed entries, basically as we've done before. URL list, append. So append is add to, as far as lists are concerned, the post and the link. So that's all I want. I don't want titles. I don't want descriptions. I don't want anything else. I just want the link. I'll get all that other information if I care about it later once I have the link. Then I'm simply going to return that URL list. So now I'm going to have a list of just all the URLs that are sitting in that RSS feed. We then come down here, and this is the important one. Whatever you do, don't bug this one up. For page, so basically for page in URL list. So I have this list of URLs. It might be 30 URLs, might be 50 URLs, might be 500 URLs, depending on what they're doing. This right here basically tells me what indexes I want to deal with within the list. So square bracket nothing basically says start at index 0, colon 5, stop at index 5. So this will basically go through, I think it does 6. I think it'll actually do 6 iterations because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should do 6 iterations. Anyways, it'll stop at somewhere between 5 to 6. You could leave this at 10, you could leave this at 50. whatever you do, I would say to put some kind of damn limiter in here unless you really know what the hell you're doing. And so this is what we're going to be using to limit. Response underscore BS, scrape the page. So the page is the URL in this list, and then we're simply going to use Beautiful Soup to scrape that particular page. All right, so we come here. I think it's all as we did before. Again, get the text from the page, Beautiful Soup, parse it, find all the p tags, text equals blank, go through each line in the post, and basically turn that all into the text. So we just have nice, clean text without any tags, and then we're going to return just the text as we've done before. Then we come down here. And basically response BS, we're going to feed to the AI module, or the AI function, I'm sorry. And the variable that's going to come out is going to be response underscore AI. So we come here, and basically with this, again, query, again, the value that came in. You are a blogger, write a 100-word blog post on whatever the query is. Do not mention the author, do not mention when the post was written. Right? And then the response is, okay, so then we're going to get the response for the post. So what this means is basically we're going to get that 100-word blog post, but then we need a title for it. Because again, one of the things you have to be careful about when you're stealing other people's stuff is the idea of watermarking. Like if something is identical, then that might be able to find out that you're stealing their things. So not only do we need to rewrite the post, we also need to rewrite the title. And so instead of simply saying rewrite the title, instead of simply getting the title and saying rewrite that, why not, now that we have a new post, we can just simply come down here and we can ask for a title. So we have a 100-word post. Basically, you are a blogger, create a title for a blog post about, and here's the post. And so we're going to get the title back. So this gets us the blog post, and then this gets us the title. Then we're going to return. So return index 0 will be response title. Index 1 will be response post. Let's see, we're going to print out on the screen just so we see what's going on. Response AI, right? So response AI index 0 will be title. Next line, response AI index 1 will be the post. So print title post, that'll be on the screen. Then with open, auto blog, HTML, append as file, file.write, H1, response AI 0. So in the H1 tags, do the title, write within a P tag, do the post. And it'll loop through up to 5 times. So I can then run this. All right, so Apple's Mac Mini is getting a power up. Right? Master and adaptability, then that gets that. United Kingdom CMA launches a probe, that gets that. Humane pen, AI pen sales plummet, you get that. So that's written. So again, this is just for troubleshooting, just so I can see that's going on. And then I can go here and say, okay, so auto blog HTML. So I can see this, right? So again, this is just all automatically created. Apple's Mac Mini is getting an M4 power up. Here's what to expect. And we get a 100-word post. Master and adaptability, blah, blah, and a post. So basically, what we just got there is we were able to scrape Ars Technica's feed, and within, whatever that was, 15 seconds, be able to come up with 5 blog posts. Again, when we start talking about parsing, and when you start actually talking about putting this into a data store, like a database or whatever, you may have to go through and clean things up. Like you can use replace. So there's something called a replace method, where you say replace one character with something else. So if you see like these double or single quotation marks, you might want to replace those, get rid of those. The stars, you can use that, get rid of those. There's some stuff in here that, again, with basic Python code, you can actually clean this up to make this look a lot prettier. So although this is kind of ugly, realistically, it's maybe about 10, with 10 lines of just very basic Python code, I could clean this up pretty nicely. And so basically, this is the idea of going through scraping RSS feeds. And again, where this becomes powerful is, imagine you have the Gizmodo's feed and the Ars Technica's feed and Engadget's feed and TechRadar's feed. You dump all of that into one massive ass list, and then you're just writing your site all day long. So that's that one. And then the final one is news. So we didn't do anything with the transcript. Transcript's pretty easy. You get the concept. With this one, it's simply ask questions about today's news from an RSS feed. So we go here. I got the functions again. We got the while true loop. Yep. So we got a while true loop. Okay. So from OpenAI, import OpenAI, import FeedParser, import Git from requests. We're also going to import the OS module. The reason for this is we are going to be able to ask questions. So we're going to have a decent little UI here. So it's going to ask me for a question. I can say, I don't know, what happened with Google today? It clears, that's why OS. What happened today? It was reported that Google and Meta ignored their own rules and secret team targeting ads. The project disregarded Google's own rules that bar personalizing and targeting ads to minors. All right, then it asks for a question again. I can say, again, this is only dealing with the RSS feed, so it doesn't have a lot of information here. Is there anything about AI? Scanning through the RSS feed. Man versus machine, DeepMind's new robot, Amazon defends Anthropic AI idea, people are returning AI pins, Google and Meta, right? So basically this allows you to ask questions about, a document essentially from OpenAI, and it gives you this nice, very basic little user interface to deal with. Let's see here. We go down. So we have a while true loop here. Again, always be careful with the while true loops. Make sure they stop somewhere so you don't rack up the bill. URL. So this is just simply going to be the RSS feed that we're dealing with. Query equals. So the input function and question. So what's your question? os.system clear. Again, if you're on Windows, that's CLS. This is sending a command directly to your operating system. So in Mac and Ubuntu, Linux, it's clear. Windows, it's CLS. Result underscore text equals scrape feed URL. I think it's the same damn thing we've done before. And again, this is the nice thing with creating functions. Not only can you reuse functions in this script, but once you created a nice function, you can just do copy and paste it into another script that you're dealing with. Again, do remember, lazy programmers are good programmers. Again, if you're a noob and you're sitting there and like you see some programmer making $250,000 a year or whatever, and he has his feet up half the time, it's most likely because he knows how to copy and paste. Just because he's not doing any work doesn't mean they're not valuable. So anyways, we're basically going to scrape, get the text, feed parse, create the text for every entry, text, post title, description, and we're going to return that as text. So we're going to return a result text. We're going to feed the question, so that question that we inputted, plus we're going to feed the text to AI, so the query text, model 40, your helpful assistant, provide an answer from this document, the text, and the question is about this text. It's going to give you a response, as we've done 500 times before, and simply going to print out what the question was originally. Again, make sure you don't forget the damn question, and then it's going to print out the result. And since it's a while true, it'll then go back and it'll do this query thing again. Actually, at the end, you'll type in the next question, you hit enter, and it keeps going and going and going and going. So those are the labs for today. It is 3:49, 3:50. I will stick around for about 20 minutes. I've actually got some crap I have to do after class today. So I will read through the chats right now and I'll answer any questions everybody has. So if you want to work on these labs, if you actually have an API key, you want to work on these labs, you can do that. If you don't. Again, the nice part with the labs and doing this is we can do screen share. So if you're trying to do something and it's failing for some reason, I can try to troubleshoot you through the process. We'll see how that goes. And as far as the cost for today, is this OpenAI? Where's my OpenAI thing? Quick start. Organization overview. I am a human. Oh, usage. Give me my usage, man. Monthly spend, $3.93. What's going on? Why can't I get to my usage? Are you sure? Yes. So usage projects. Huh. Locking up for some reason. Yeah, so I don't know. So monthly spend. So my monthly spend this month for both classes that I've done so far is $3.93. So this morning, I hit my maximum sometime pretty early this morning of the $3 mark. So for today, so for my testing, I did a lot of testing before class, and for the class itself, it's cost me 93 cents. I would tell you more, but it's like it's actually locked up. Hold on a sec. Let me see something over here. OpenAI product API login API organization usage. Yeah, I don't know. It's working fine over here. So usage. Yeah, so for today, so for August 8th, the GPT-4. So I've been using the 4.0 model. The 4.0 model is the most expensive of the model. So for all of today, I've spent $1.04 on that model. And then for the pictures, the images, I guess I haven't done too many images, it's been 32 cents. So for all of today, I've spent $1.36. So again, for educational purposes, who the hell cares? Doesn't matter. Again, do be careful though. If you're looking at doing this at production or in production at scale, $1.36 multiplied by as fast as a computer can go through a loop can get pretty expensive. So let's see here. Is there a good way to use this with Olama? So we're probably gonna have a class on Olama next week. So Olama, if you don't know, is just cool. Again, I don't try to get into politics with these particular classes, but I will tell you, Olama is better than Obama. I used to say that in some of the videos. Olama, Lama, better than Obama, Obama. I would vote for Olama this year. Olama was running. Anyways, Olama's just freaking awesome. What Olama is a framework that allows you to run LLMs. And the nice part is they've modified the LLM, so you can simply do a pull request. You can pull whatever LLM you want. Like you go to here to models, and they've just got a crap ton of models. Yeah. Llama 3.1. So the 405 billion parameter version, it's not going to run on that thing, I can tell you that. But anyways, you can download it and use it. So 8 billion, 70 billion, 405, Gemma 2, Mistral Nemo, Mistral Large, Pi 3. So this is actually an interesting one. It's a very small one. It's a 3 billion. So these have been optimized to be able to run in your system. So I can actually get Pi 3. I can get Pi 3 at 3 billion to run on the 2012 MacBook Pro. So I have a 2012 MacBook Pro with 4 gigs of RAM, solid state drive, whatever. And it actually runs. I mean, like it runs. It's like, ooh, it's working. It's working. But that's kind of one of the interesting things with it. So what this framework allows you to do is you install the framework on your system. You can then pull, you just simply do a pull command for whatever model you want. It goes up to the repository, pulls it down, and then as long as Ollama is running on your system, there is an Ollama Python module that allows you to simply communicate with Ollama, so with an LLM locally, about as simply as what I've been showing you. It doesn't use the same roles and that type of thing, but it's pretty simple. You can still do prompt engineering, that kind of thing. But yeah, Ollama is absolutely fantastic. And so the good thing about this is as long as your computer can run it, then you're not paying anything. You don't pay a dime to run this damn thing. Plus, it's not going out. It's not going up to the API, so they're not spying on you with what you're doing with it. It does have some security though. Again, with these LLMs, they're actually building the quote unquote security directly into the LLM. So it will fail out on some prompts or some requests. But at least it's not pinging, Meta or OpenAI when it does it. So anyways, yeah, it's one of those things you can play around with. And it's really kind of cool. There are a hell of a lot of LLMs out there, and you can definitely play with it. And it's good too, like, I tried to run Llama 2. So I don't know, a while ago, 6 months ago or something like that. I used Meta's documentation to install Llama 2. I installed it. I have a cheese grater MacBook Pro, so I installed it on that. Plus, I installed it on my laptop Mac Pro, sorry, Mac Pro and my MacBook. The weird thing was it ran slow as dirt. It like took minutes to do a request on Llama 2 when you actually use Meta's documentation. And so apparently there's something with the models. I have to do my research on it. Basically, there's a way to compress the model. So just like you compress an image, you can compress the model. Same thing, like if you compress an image, you lose something, but do you lose enough that you care about? And that's basically what Ollama does with these models, is they're essentially compressed models so that they'll actually work at a decent speed. Yeah, I've got a llama running. Oh, how do I do the Ollama prompt? It's been a while. Let's see. Ollama is running. Let's see here. Ollama. What are my commands? Ollama start server. Ollama run Ollama 2.7b. So that's starting to run. Oh, how do I'm not sure I understand what you were saying with 7b. Is that 7b? Oh, let's say it's just do a llama 2. Llama 2. Okay, send message. Oh, crap. Oh, well, I might be able to do this in this new terminal window. Okay, so you should be able to see that. Ollama run llama 2. So see, send message. So like literally, I'm communicating with Ollama because I've got Ollama running on the system. I can say hello. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Is there something I can? So basically, this is Llama 2, and this is running on a 2019 MacBook Pro with 16 gigs of RAM. Not horrible, but not great. So again, let's see here. How much chuck could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I mean, that's the important things you want out of your AI. A classic question. The answer is quite simple. A woodchuck can chuck as much wood as a woodchuck can chuck. It's a bit of a paradox, but that's just the way it is. Woodchucks are known for their ability to move large amounts of soil and other materials, so it's only natural that they would be able to chuck wood as well. Just remember, if you ever come across a woodchuck in the middle of chucking wood, to be sure to give them a wide berth. They can get quite grumpy when they're in the midst of chucking. So anyways, this is how you actually run and interact with Ollama at the CLI, at the command prompt. But there's simply a Python module that allows you to interact with it through a Python script. Let's see here. Ollama 3 package is on PyPy. I can pull Ollama and Stable Diffusion on my local machine. Yes, but the Python syntax and API calls are way different. Obviously, good exercise. Just make sure you have at least a 6-core piece CPU and at least 24, preferably 32 gigs of RAM, or it's going to be slow, maybe even not work. Well, I mean, this has got 16 gigs of RAM. The big thing, if you're running Ollama, is the size of the damn model. Right? So again, if you run a 30 billion parameter model, it'll run fine. Again, a 3 billion parameter model will run on a 12-year-old MacBook Pro with 4 gigs of RAM. A 405 billion parameter model, it will not run on any computer I own. So that's the thing, is the size of the parameters is the thing that's got to dork you up. Thanks, I never thought of running Ollama in my code terminal. Yeah, it's I mean it's like the terminal, only not really. That's one of the problems I've been running. That's a whole environmental variable disaster. So again, for environmental variables, just to go through it again, is basically the idea is you set the environment variable in your computer, in your operating system, and they're simply able to call it. And the nice part about that is then you're able to get access to that variable without it being just in a normal text file that any hacker can get access to. So if somebody is able to get root access to your directory structure, they can't necessarily get to that environment variable. Fuck me. The problem that I ran into is when I set the environment variable the normal way I would set the environment variable, this command line, right, the built in terminal command line would be able to pull the environment variable fine. And if I ran a Python script from the terminal, it pulled the environment variables fine. For some reason, though, when I tried to run the exact same script, I was simply running it through here instead of running it through there. It wasn't picking up the environment variables. I'm sure there is a simple solution to it. I'm sure once I spend a couple of hours going through the documentation, I'll figure out what the issue is there. But yeah, that's kind of something weird. That's one thing to be thinking about too. Like as you do more of these Python projects, and again, this is where I have to get better at troubleshooting for you folks too, is there are times when you install a framework or you do things, and for whatever reason, it will not run in VS Code terminal window. But if you simply open up the command prompt or the terminal and you do Python 3, whatever, and you do it there, runs fine. No problem at all. So that's one thing too, if you're doing troubleshooting with your Python code, just to keep in mind, like if you've written out the code and it's not working in VS Code for some reason, just hop over into the command prompt, into the terminal, run Python 3 space, whatever your script name is, and try to fire it off there. You may be surprised to find out it fires off there just fine when it doesn't fire off in here. Yeah. So something to keep in mind. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you. See you next time. Most likely Tuesday. I need to put up the class. So I think we'll probably do the Ollama class on Tuesday because it'll be a pretty simple class. There's really not a lot to it. So yeah, I'll put that up on Meetup. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. I'm a fucking user, dude. I'm sorry, I'm a user. Oh, I muted when I walked out the damn door. So I just gave an answer. It was a good answer. It was a righteous answer. You'd have tears coming out of your eyes if you'd heard that answer. Anyways, am I going to do in-person meetups? Let me repeat. So basically, I had a classroom here again for over a year. I had a classroom here, a very pretty, nice classroom. The issue is people in Asheville just do not care about tech. I love Asheville for any number of reasons, but their industry here is beer and retirements, apparently. They just don't care about tech. So trying to do a meetup here in Asheville is basically damn near a waste of time, to be honest with you. And so what I was thinking about is before I started doing the Zoom, my other idea before Zoom was actually to start commuting to Charlotte. So Charlotte's about 2 hours away from me. So I was thinking maybe once a week, maybe go in for 2 days a week or 1 day a week, figure that kind of thing out. Basically drive in, grab a hotel room, do a couple of things, then come back. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of driving. I didn't move to Asheville to be in Charlotte all the time. So that's why I tried to figure out the Zoom thing so we can do this online so I can stay at home. So basically what my thought is if this does well, give it about a year. So I've been doing this for about, I don't know, 3 weeks now, give it another year. If it does well and we have traction, my thought is possibly doing in-person some things, but somewhere where there's actually a population. Again, Asheville's got 100,000 people, 100,000 actual residents, basically. We got a lot of travelers, but whatever. If you go to Charlotte, Charlotte's got 2.8 million people, and they actually like money. Charlotte people like money. They're my kind of people. Atlanta is about 3.5 hours away. LaGuardia. So LaGuardia is a great airport. If you have not flown into LaGuardia lately, fucking fabulous. Anyways, we have non-stops from here to LaGuardia. And so basically my thought is if I was going to do something in person, instead of beating my damn head against the wall in a location where nobody gives a damn, I think I would be more interested in either 2 hours to Charlotte or 3.5 to Atlanta, or again, 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, hopping on a flight to get to New York City, and then trying to do something in a place that actually has a decent population center. Right. Again, I like it's a whole thing in business. Like a lot of times with business, people have like these questions about business, and business is really simple. Business is just a numbers game. And the fact of the matter is if there's nobody around you, you can't sell anything. Eli, how can I get to $1 million in sales? Well, what's your population? 500. You're not going to get to $1 million in sales, right? And so, yeah, that's my thought is if we do something in person, again, maybe monthly, something like that, do it at a location that would actually care. Because again, here, sponsors don't care. People don't sponsor shit here. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Like I ran into weird problems. I ran into problems I didn't expect. Like I know like meetups, I knew event groups here that do really amazing things, do really great things. They get an awesome amount of attendance, right demographics, and none of the businesses give a damn about them. They can't get sponsors. They can't get sponsors worth a damn because nobody here cares. And so like that's the weirdness of being in Asheville. Great mountains, great beer. Not so good for business. So yeah, anyways, that's if we do something physical, it'll be a year plus from now. I don't know, New York City or something. That would be cool. I feel like I could make some money in New York City. New York City? Oh no. If they have any hotel rooms left. That's not political. They might not have hotel rooms left in a year. But anyways, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. It was one like those cartoons, a whole speech on mute. Yes. I'm in Greensboro. I wanted to make the drive up there. Yeah, I mean, it was impressive how many people wanted to come here. Again, I had people fly in. I had somebody fly in from Minneapolis. I had somebody fly in from New Hampshire or somebody. I had people drive in from Maryland and Virginia and Florida. Like that was the frustrating. Like that's what made me lose my damn mind with Asheville. Is I was having people literally travel halfway around the country to come to classes and all that kind of stuff, but actually getting people in Asheville to come to classes, it was just an impossibility. So, yeah. So anyways, New York City. We can all meet in New York City. Okay, so that is it. I've been talking for 7 more minutes than I was supposed to. Any final questions? If there's no final questions, I gotta go. Question. Everybody waving hands. Cool. Okay. See you most likely Tuesday. I will put up the event, I don't know, in a couple hours. See y'all later.